When the push ends and the push stops and the lights go out, now those are just drastic little sentences, just for entertainment values as a content provider I'll give you. But the lights don't just go out. When the push stops, sometimes the fans, it seems like the lights just go out quick and the push just stops instantly. That's not really the case. What happens is it's kind of a slower, gradual thing that happens behind the scenes, and there's little signs that you could tell. And that's the thing that I don't think really most people talk about that maybe have experienced this like yours truly, because I have experienced this. I've experienced both ends, namely in ECW. Well, I experienced the push starting and growing and continuing and getting huge push. That I've experienced, and I'm forever grateful for that, for the wrestlers around me that got me over, and obviously Paul Heyman gave me the opportunity. So, and Joey Styles on commentary just get me over like gangbusters. Now, in WWE, things were a little bit different, obviously. But I have had, as a wrestler, obviously coming in with the big push and the big amp, and then it dying down. And maybe to a lot of you guys, as viewers, it felt like it just ended quick before it even got started. Behind the scenes are a little different, and I've gotten to this down in the past, but I'll get into it a little deeper in this particular podcast. But I have experienced coming back from an injury there and then getting that rebirth bigger push. I have experienced that. So, well, I shouldn't say bigger push. Another push. It wasn't a bigger push. It was another push. And then that kind of fizzled away too. After I tore my bicep and I came back, and I think that's when around the time I hit Rikishi. I hit him with a camera, and he was in a cage match at a pay-per-view. I can't remember. Then I also wrestled Al Snow in Dallas at a pay-per-view for WWE, and during that comeback push, that's when I came back wearing, like, changing the stuff I was wearing. Like I was wearing like a cutoff, like a short sleeve, like a Dickies shirt, and like longer pants, like So I kind of changed. That was me changing my look. I wanted a kind of a makeover, because obviously my ECW feel and look, Vince McMahon, I guess maybe didn't like it because he wasn't pushing me, so I tried something different. And that's the thing I want to say. Like, when you start to get de-pushed, most of the times, like, the initial thing that makes you get de-pushed, I don't know if that's a proper grammar sentence, but most of the times the thing that has you get de-pushed, you don't know what it is. You don't know what you did wrong. And sometimes you don't have to do something wrong. It could just be something that tweaks or like, and just talking about WWE here, that just maybe pisses Vince off, or just something that he didn't like. Maybe he doesn't get angry. Maybe just like, you know what? I don't see this happening. Vince, obviously an ultra successful man, a genius businessman, and an amazing wrestling promoter for decades upon decades, like his family, his dad and stuff like that, and all the success he's had, Vince Sr. So Vince McMahon, our current Vince Jr., his success all these years, a lot of what he's done well, it's because of his gut and his instincts. And he's not always right on that. And any excellent promoter will tell you that. Paul Heyman will tell you the same thing. A lot of stuff that a guy like Paul does, or a guy like Vince has done, or God rest his soul, when Dusty Rhodes was a booker. I mean, these guys, or Jerry Lawler booked Memphis, all the success he had there, or maybe the Gagnes, Vern Gagne in the Minnesota, Minneapolis area. Any great promoter, Stu Hart up in Calgary, any of these guys that had success, Bill Watts down south, any of these guys, a lot of their booking goes by gut and instincts on a said talent. It's not just, you know what? The people around me I trust say he's going to get over. You know what? The people in the crowd are really popping for this guy, or he's selling merchandise. All of that stuff is very, very important. I can tell you, because I've done it. My merch when I came in to WWE and debuted at the Garden went through the roof. I think my T-shirt, I've talked about this, and people know it. It's well documented publicly. Was the highest selling shirt during that time, behind a guy named The Rock. So, and he was getting pushed to the moon, and I wasn't. So there was a level of expectation of my push, and the people were digging me, which I'm so humble and grateful to all you guys. But Vince McMahon and his people around him obviously something didn't click for them with me. Or Vince his gut was like, I don't know. Now, Vince McMahon, in all the years I worked with him after this, never told me that. We never discussed it. It was kind of an awkward thing for me to even bring up to him because I was segueing and I was into this announcing role, and I was so grateful for it. And I was trying to learn how to do that, and I kind of moved on. I didn't let that negativity sit in my brain like, oh, I never got a world title push. Oh, I never got pushed to the moon as a champ. Oh, what happened? You said I was going to get pushed, and you didn't. I didn't live in that space. I had to move on because I had to I had a second chance at another career, which I wasn't crazy about doing at the time, the announcing, but I knew that I had bills and I had to make money, and I was going to stay in the company. So I jumped on it. But anyway, what happened with me, and then, I'll get into other stuff that just has nothing to do with me, too, as far as getting where the push just stops. With me, it was a deal where I never was really told this, and you guys know this. You guys that listen to me all the time heard this, but just humor me for a second because I want to smarten up some of the folks that are maybe brand new to the Taz show. When I debuted against Kurt, and I went to do a German suplex on him at the Royal Rumble 2000 in the Garden, you could find it online or the WWE Network or whatever, there was a spot where I went to German suplex him, and it was a release German suplex. And our timing was off. I knew our timing was off. It's my job to control my opponent's body and protect my opponent. So even though I knew Kurt was tough as hell, an Olympic gold medalist and all this jazz, it didn't matter who he was. I needed to protect his body. The timing was off on that German. I could not release him in the air. I put him back down. I double pumped and then did the throw correctly, and the place exploded. It was a great throw. Kurt's head, though, it never hit. Like it looked dangerous, but that's what I used to do. I made my throws look dangerous. I kind of, I don't know a lot about a lot of things, but I know how to do that. Okay. So I do know the trick behind that, and I made a living off of that. So, and I had a bunch of men that I wrestled that trusted me with that. So, and Kurt was one of them. So that's what I feel hurt my in-ring push was that spot. And you guys know the story. The next day, then guys like Pat Patterson and Jared Briscoe sat down with me in Philadelphia when we showed up for Raw after the Royal Rumble and said, "Oh, we got to be careful here." And they were cool. They weren't negative, but I knew there was something going on. I knew I pissed somebody off, and I think it was Vince and whoever was in his ear at that time. So, and I knew there's a little something going on there when that happened, and that. And it sucks, man. I laugh now, but that was day 2 of being on the payroll. Day 2, So I knew going into day 2 something's not right, and they let me wrestle my style on day 1, and then it just started to change where I had to kind of tweak some things in the ring, and to placate to the people that were paying me. So. Not the audience, the owner of the company. So I knew something wasn't right there. And then next thing you know, I found myself in, handicap matches against the Big Boss Man and Prince Albert, So I knew I went from a guy that could have been what I was told would be pushed in a main event role, just like an ECW, if not more, that it would get to that kind of on the rapid end, and it never happened. I wasn't promised it, but those discussions happened a lot before I signed my contract. So I did, and the money they were paying me, I'm forever grateful. They were paying me a very handsome, and I'm not bragging, but they were paying me a lot of money. So I figured, hey, geez, I'm an investment. They're definitely going to push the hell out of me. And what I've proved in ECW with a small machine, what I could do, where the company's behind me that doesn't have the same resources and TV penetration and money and all this stuff, well, geez, WWE can put me through the roof. No, that didn't happen. So, and it's a very, so now when that push stops, and you could feel it, because just like Vince McMahon has instincts on who he may think is going to get over or not get over, I have instincts when a promoter is about to kind of say, let's pump the brakes on this guy. I have instincts on wrestlers around me how to act, and I have instincts on the vibe I'm getting from even the guy who it works security for the company or selling merchandise for the company, people who work backstage in production. And that's kind of what I want to jump into here. This is stuff that you, the audience, don't see. When you are, how do I word this? When you start to get a little bit of a deep push, and again, I have to say this. I'm not saying this happens to every single guy or girl who gets deep pushed. But there are signs that once you start to get that deep push, the initial thing that happens is some of those folks backstage, they kind of act a little bit different towards you. Now, let me explain that. The people that you people don't even know, I don't care if it's makeup people. Well, I should say makeup people. They're usually pretty chill. The people who work in production, the people, because they're in production meetings and they hear things. And, a stage manager who's a low-end production can hear something. Like, it's not like they go into production and say, okay, look, we're going to stop pushing Taz. We're going to stop pushing Mordecai. I remember him, Kevin Thorne, who there's a guy who came in with a ton of fanfare and vignettes up the wazoo, amazing look, could work, and it just kind of fizzled out. What he did wrong, I'm not sure. But I'm just giving an example. So it's not like they go into production meeting and they're like, hey, let's stop pushing Mordecai. Or, hey, guys, listen, all you production folks, we are not going to push Mordecai anymore. We're letting you know that. That's not how it goes. There are little things that are said that the more experienced production people hear, and they know, all right. And they could see what the writers are doing or not doing with this person, no matter if it's Mordecai, Taz, or whoever. They could tell, okay, this is not the same rise that we had with this guy. Now, the production people or people behind the scenes that do the merchandise or the office people, the PR people, they're always professional. They're always very nice, but they kind of start to get less talkative with you. Like backstage, they won't hang around. If you're going to grab coffee, you see one of them, they'll hang out and make small talk with you when you get in the push. They just talk to you. And they just try to pick your brain and be around you. They know the company loves you, so they want the good rub. But when you start getting deep pushed, those conversations by the coffee pot are like, hey, Taz, hey, what's up there, Jocko? All right, see ya. Boom, gone. Jocko's gone. Jocko. But, whatever, 3-4 weeks ago, Jocko was my best friend by the coffee pot. So I'm just saying these things happen and you start to see it. And I never got mad at any of those people, and I saw it happen as an announcer, and I would hear a lot of things, and I really, I had to keep my integrity, and it was a confidentiality. Sometimes I heard things as an announcer that I couldn't repeat to wrestlers that I was friends with and I respected and I loved. I couldn't. I never heard nothing that's dressed like, okay, listen, we're going to fire this guy. And that's something different. Then I got to say something, but that's not how it goes in the meetings. They don't share that because they know, Vince and his team know, there's a good chance in a production meeting or an agent meeting that someone might go to a talent and say something like that. So they're very smart and they're professional, Vince McMahon and his crew and his family, how they handle business. I'm not saying that. I'm not even implying that. But what I'm saying is when you're the flavor of the month and it ends, and sometimes that flavor could last more than a month. It could last 2 years. It could last 2 months. It could last 1 month. But eventually it'll start to die down for most people. And when it does, just by things that happen backstage, just by the feel. And again, it's not a knock on anyone backstage. It's just, the key in that company is everybody wants to be in any company, not just wrestling. Everybody wants to be and curry favor with the boss as much as you can. And look, you guys, no matter what you do for a living, I'm sure a lot of you have seen people you work with kiss your boss's ass. Maybe some of you kiss your boss's ass. And you know what? If you're going to be an ass kisser, on the outside, that sounds like it's a horrible type of person to be. I think there's a fine line between a smart business person and being political, because we all live in political worlds in the work we do, because politics are everywhere. Like, as far as it's, a lot of times, the old expression, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, Yeah, there's some truth to that. So, you want to be in good graces with your boss. You don't have to be an ass kisser, and you don't have to bury anyone, but you be respectful. And sometimes, maybe you laugh at something stupid he or she says, and say, that's not even really that funny, but I'll put you over. Okay. Does that make you an ass kisser? I don't think it makes you an ass kisser. And I've seen that around in WWE like forever. Oh, I've seen like ass kissing, like in production meetings, like just without naming names of some people that maybe still work there and some people that provide content. I will just tell you, there's been a lot of ass kissing. I've witnessed that, and a lot of backstabbing. But that's wrestling. That's the business. And you could tell right away, I did right away, when the push was starting to go away for me, how you're treated backstage. And again, you're not treated negatively. You're just, you're not really... You're not being embraced. You're not being hugged. You're not being, and people aren't just looking to hang out and talk to you, like that work for the company. You kind of like, I told you guys, look, when I got done wrestling Kurt at the Garden, I knew right away something was fugazi because it's the Royal Rumble. I walked through the curtain in the gorilla position going backstage. And now their gorilla position is a little bit different than the way it is now. They have they build like a room. It's kind of a fancy damn room. It wasn't like that. It was just a curtain with like a table with some equipment there. And when I walked through that curtain, there was basically nobody back there. In that area, the holding area where you walk out to the ring at Madison Square Garden, it was like crickets. And now I'm like, wow. And then when I walked in the locker room, some guys like, hey, man, good job. Like, very, just very in passing. Hey, good man, And a lot of guys were just like kind of avoiding me. Like, I remember who they were, too. All those guys. And I don't tell you where the bodies are buried, unfortunately. So if you're looking for that type of podcast, I'm not your guy. There's plenty of other guys that tell you where the bodies are buried. I don't.